What holds us back the most is really our minds. We stay in our heads so much and tell ourselves so many stories that we rarely accomplish the very things that we really want to. So, how do we gain mind control? How do we take control of our thoughts and make sure that they do not disable us? So, your mind's number one aim is really protection. It's not that it doesn't want us to accomplish things or it doesn't want us to grow, but in the process, it wants to prevent us from experiencing any pain or any harm. It would rather inflict harm in our mind than something happen bad to us in our life. And so that's what it's focused on. Now, it does that by projection, and it creates stories and possibilities and what ifs that tend to be to the negative in order to protect us from something that we can't predict. So here's basically the way it happens. There's always a story that we begin with, that we control. We actually begin in control. And we have a story that's about glory. It's about success. It's about reaching the goal. It's about losing the weight. It's about building the business and then selling the business for millions of dollars. So we've got this glory story that we tell ourselves. But then our mind gets involved because there's so many things that we're not able to actually know ahead of time of how they're going to go. So our glory story ends up gory. That's tough for us because now it ends up a complete switch that we'll never lose the weight and everybody's going to know it because we told everybody we're going to, and our business isn't going to make it because we bragged about how awesome it was going to be and how we were going to show everybody. So our story goes from this pinnacle all the way down into the pit because we let our minds take control of the narrative. So your mind's greatest weapon is the unknown. When we cannot accurately predict public outcome, the way that it's seen out in the public, fear overrides glory and mass produces glory. And the public is a big key here because if nobody ever saw the book that we were going to write, if nobody ever experienced the business we were going to grow, which would be crazy because we wouldn't make any money, right? We would not be near as fearful. Our story would not change that much. We would stay a lot more optimistic because we wouldn't be worried about what anybody else thought or what the impact was going to be. Because our mind cannot accurately predict the public outcome, the public review, then it overrides our glory story and it produces this dark narrative that prevents us from taking action. The invisible and probable overrides even the attainable. So there are things that we actually could accomplish, but because of the invisible, the unknown, and even though it's improbable, it's probably not going to happen, it will override even the very things that we could accomplish because of that fear. So how do we attain mind control? We want to review the past, renew the present, redeem the future. So we begin by reviewing the past wins, past losses, and past reasons for both of those. Now, why do we do that? Because we want to gather data. As illogical as that feels to our brain, it ends up being a very logical process. Now, we know that as anything enters our mind, it has to pass through the emotional cortex, the emotional core, before it ever gets to the logical core. And because we're so emotional, and that's what these stories are, we end up not taking action because of the negative emotion that we feel. So we can pull that back a little bit and we can review the data. Hey, I've had some really great wins in this area. I've also had some losses. Now, the reason I lost was X, and the reason I won was Y. I gather that data, that experience, so that I'm now able to bring that forward. So if I'm trying to lose weight now, and I've lost weight before, I've got data that helps me and actually gives me an advantage over those who've never done it before. So I want to review the past. Secondly, I want to renew the present. I want to know where I'm strong right now. And I want to know where I want to fly right now. What do I want to run from? And I actually want to write these things down. I want to have a list of these because the more we stay in our mind, the more the story is going to be incorrect. So we have to write these things down on paper. What that's going to do is allow you to overwrite the current negative thinking. So instead of just staying in your brain, you put it down on paper, you see where you're actually strong, you see why you want to run and even where you want to run to. And it really gives you a clearer picture than if you're just sitting there thinking. Then you want to redeem the future. So why am I doing this? Why do I want to accomplish this? What's the reason that I want to reach this goal or attain this height? What's the most I could accomplish? What's the dream? What if I didn't fail? What if I succeeded wildly? What would that look like? And then I also want to have a sigh. Now, the sky is the best that could happen. A sigh is really the worst that could happen. And that is that I'm going to attain something. I'm going to reach a certain level. It may not be what I want, but I'm going to sigh about that because I'm going to go, well, you know what? I didn't get what I wanted and I did not attain the goal, but I did attain something. I am better than I was before. I am farther along than I was before. And what this produces is action. When I understand why I'm doing this thing, pursuing this goal, when I know what the ultimate outcome is, and when I also know that even the minimum outcome is going to put me ahead of where I am now, it allows me to act. So that's how you gain mind control. You realize that there's stories been told in your mind just to protect it, and it projects it so that you will not act. So what you want to do is you want to review the past, you want to renew the present, you want to redeem the future.